Pam Bondi refuses to call Trump truthful. Then it gets worse. She was asked one word, just one, yes or no, that's all it required. Instead, America got something far more revealing. The nation's top law enforcement officer couldn't say it. She wouldn't say it. And what happened next changed everything. The room went completely silent. Then it got worse. Here's what you need to understand before we go any further. On February 11, 2026, Attorney General Pam Bondi sat before the House Judiciary Committee, and what unfolded in that chamber wasn't just a political moment, it was a confession dressed up as a dodge. Representative Sydney Kamlager-Dove of California had 5 minutes. She used every single second of those 5 minutes not to grandstand, not to perform for cameras, but to ask the one question that apparently no one else in that room had the nerve to ask out loud. The question was simple. Is the President of the United States honest? That's it. 4 words. A yes or no answer. Something any first grader could respond to about their best friend on the playground. But Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the most powerful nation on earth, the chief law enforcement officer sworn to uphold truth and justice, she couldn't do it. She literally could not say the word yes. Instead, she said he is the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America. That was her answer. Commander-in-Chief. As if the title somehow answered a question about character. As if rank and honesty were the same thing. Let that sink in for a moment, because this isn't a small thing. This is the person who runs the Department of Justice telling you, under oath, on national record, that she will not confirm her own boss tells the truth. And here's where it starts getting much darker. Kamlager-Dove didn't come unprepared. She came with receipts, and the receipts were devastating. She laid out a list of things the president has publicly claimed that are factually, demonstrably, provably false. Not opinions, not interpretations, false statements with evidence attached. Trump claimed he cut gas prices by 1,400%. That never happened. AAA data puts the national average at 2.92 per gallon, and during the hearing, Bondi herself claimed gas was down to 1.99, a number so disconnected from reality that it almost sounds like satire. Trump claimed he won the 2020 election. Every court, every recount, every audit said otherwise. 60-plus legal losses, and the claim still gets repeated like a mantra. Trump claimed he sent water to Los Angeles during the wildfires. False. Records show that didn't happen the way he described. Trump claimed Governor Wes Moore of Maryland called him the greatest president of his lifetime. Governor Moore said no such thing. It was fabricated. Each of these claims was placed in front of Bondi one by one, like evidence at a trial. And she sat there, the nation's top prosecutor, and said nothing credible in response. But then Kamlager-Dove went somewhere even more serious. She went to Minnesota. In June of 2025, former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were murdered in their home. Their dog, Gilbert, was also killed. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife were critically injured that same night. The man responsible was Vance Luther Bolter. He showed up at their homes in the early morning hours wearing tactical gear, carrying a fake police badge and disguising his face with a realistic silicone mask. It was calculated, premeditated, and political. When authorities caught Bolter after the largest manhunt in Minnesota history, they found his car loaded with 5 firearms, a massive stockpile of ammunition, and notebooks containing a target list of 45 elected officials, every single one of them a Democrat. Federal prosecutors obtained a 6-count indictment against Bolter. The lead prosecutor, Joe Thompson, publicly stated that Bolter had left a letter to the FBI filled with what Thompson called delusional claims, including the allegation that Governor Tim Walz had ordered the attacks. Prosecutors were clear. That letter was designed to mislead investigators. It was a lie. But then on January 3rd of this year, President Trump went on Truth Social and shared a video spreading that exact delusional claim, the one his own federal prosecutor had already rejected as false. His own prosecutor called it delusional. The president amplified it anyway. The Hortman children, Colin and Sophie, publicly begged him to take it down. Sophie said the post created another hurdle their family must overcome while grieving. Pat Garofalo, a former Republican leader in the Minnesota House, called it absolutely disgusting behavior that hurt the surviving family a second time. People from both parties condemned it. He left it up. When Kamlager-Dove asked Bondi whether Trump had undermined public trust in law enforcement by spreading that conspiracy theory about Governor Walz, Bondi said she was not familiar with that statement. Not familiar with a presidential social media post. That was nationally condemned by members of both parties, including the Hortman children themselves. Not familiar. At a certain point, not familiar stops being a dodge and starts being a choice. And that choice tells you something important. Kamlager-Dove responded the way millions of Americans watching were probably feeling in that moment. She told Bondi directly that this is why your office and Donald Trump have zero credibility, because you and the president are being dishonest with the American people. The room didn't explode. It didn't need to. The silence was louder. Then came the report. And this is the part that should genuinely alarm you, regardless of your politics. The National Institute of Justice, the DOJ's own research arm, published a comprehensive study on domestic terrorism in America. The findings were based on decades of data going all the way back to 1990. The numbers were not subtle. Since 1990, far-right extremists committed 227 politically motivated attacks that killed more than 520 people. In that same period, far-left extremists committed 42 attacks that killed 78 people. These are not opinion numbers. These are not media numbers. These are the Department of Justice's own numbers, published by the Department of Justice's own researchers. The report was still visible on the DOJ website as recently as September 11, 2025. A cached version confirms it was there. By September 12th, it was gone. 2 days after the targeted assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the study vanished without explanation. In its place, a message saying the department was reviewing its websites per the president's directive. Kamlager-Dove had already written a letter to Bondi demanding the report be restored. Bondi had not restored it. During the hearing, when pressed on why the DOJ removed data showing far-right attacks outpace all other forms of domestic political violence, Bondi deflected, attacked the questioner, and offered nothing. Think about what that means. The government deleted its own research because the research contradicted what the president wanted people to believe. The science didn't match the narrative, so they got rid of the science. That's not a political talking point. That's what happened. And there's one more layer to this that didn't get nearly enough attention. During that same hearing, confirmed for the first time publicly, there is an undisclosed government watch list of groups the administration considers threats. It's being built under a Trump executive directive called NSPM 7. When Representative Mary Gay Scanlon asked who or what is on that list, Bondi refused to answer. She confirmed only that Antifa is on it. She wouldn't say who else. She wouldn't say what criteria are used. She wouldn't say who reviews it, who challenges it, or whether due process exists anywhere in that process. So to summarize what you now know, the DOJ deleted its own political violence data. The AG won't say the president is honest. She claimed not to know about a presidential post that members of both parties condemned nationally. And there is a secret government watch list she won't explain to the elected representatives of the American people. There's a pattern here that's worth naming clearly. Since Bondi took over as Attorney General, her tenure has included firing long-serving prosecutors who worked January 6th cases, opening investigations into the president's political opponents, and dropping charges against his allies. CNN reporting described her as playing to an audience of one during this very hearing. And that audience is not the American people. Compare two moments from the same president. When Melissa Hortman, a Democratic state legislator, was murdered by a right-wing extremist, Trump didn't lower the flag. He didn't condemn it. He later spread conspiracy theories blaming a Democratic governor for her death. When conservative activist Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Trump ordered flags to half-staff within hours. The difference isn't political coincidence. It's a message. And the message is, some lives get mourned, and some lives get exploited. Some deaths get flags, and some deaths get conspiracy theories. The double standard isn't accidental. It's the entire point. Now think about what the Attorney General's job actually is. She runs the Department of Justice. Her mandate is to pursue truth, uphold the law, and serve the American people, not the political interests of any single person. When the AG of the United States sits under oath before Congress and cannot say the president is honest, she is telling you something. Not about what she believes, about what she knows. Because if she believed he was honest, the word yes would have required zero courage. It would have been the easiest answer in the room. The fact that she reached for Commander-in-Chief instead, That redirect, that dodge, that deliberate sidestep, that is a person calculating risk. That is someone who knows that putting yes on the record might one day become its own evidence. She knows. She just won't say it out loud. Representative Kamlager-Dove released a statement the following day. She said Bondi came across as unstable, refused to provide real answers, and disrespected constituents by dodging the very questions elected officials are sent to Washington to ask. That's a member of Congress saying the Attorney General of the United States behaved in a way that was beneath the office. Here's where things stand right now. The DOJ's domestic terrorism report is still gone from the website. Trump's post about Governor Walz and the Hortman murders, based on what's been reported, is still up. Vance Bolter has pleaded not guilty, and his next court date is March 6, 2026. The secret government watch list remains undisclosed to Congress. And Pam Bondi has still not said the word yes. This isn't about one hearing. It isn't even really about Pam Bondi. It's about what it means when the Department of Justice stops pursuing truth and starts protecting one person's image. It's about what happens when a government deletes its own data, hides its own watch lists, and employs an attorney general who can't confirm the president tells the truth. Your doctor getting bad blood work back and shredding the results doesn't make the problem go away. It just means you don't find out until it's too late. That's what's happening here. And the rest of the world is watching.